Hi, this is Told. Welcome, and today we're doing another free deck upgrade. We're gonna do snack time. I don't know if I went too far with this one. Maybe you could leave a comment if I did. But let's get into some changes as we got a bunch of them. I don't know if we ruined like the integrity of the deck, but we're trying to keep with the snack time theme. We're trying to keep the rares and mythics the same values. Not really concerned about 1-to-1 ratio of uncommon to commons, but we're going to add in the new cards from Bloomburrow. I was kind of waiting on the food deck. Because of that, I knew that we're going to get squirrels and a forge mechanic, and so I knew there was going to be a lot of food stuff. So let's start off. Obviously, like most of the decks, we're going to get rid of their one surveil land card, and we're going to put in the cottage because it makes food when it attacks. Just makes more sense. I don't know, they're trying, I don't know why they just keep putting those cards in. For our mythic, we had Bristly Bill, the farmer. When it enters, it makes 2 food. It costs 4 mana. It's a 5/5 with Trampler. It's a great card. If you don't have the mythic to craft it, you could keep Bristlebud Farmer. It's still a great card, still great in the deck. But I'm going to try out this new card, Yagra, Eater of Wilds. 3 mana, 1 black, 1 green, 6/6. Sacrifice of food. It has ward, sacrifice of food, so if opponent tries to target it, they have to sacrifice a food. All other creatures become food tokens, and when a food is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eater of All. It doesn't have trample, so there's a problem with that, but we don't have ways to give it trample, so that might be a problem, but I figured I want to try out the new card. We got one, what is it? Rare? That's staying? The Gumdrop Poisoner. It's a great card. It makes a food, has lifelink, and can kill something. You for 5 mana, basically, you sack a food, gain 3 life, put it down. You can kill a 3/3 creature or something with 3 toughness. The Wildwood Mentor we're going to replace with Camellia, the Seed Miser, 1 mana, 1 black, 1 green, 3/3 menace. Other squirrels you control have menace as well. And then when you sacrifice 1 or more foods, you create a 1/1 squirrel. So that's great. You sack a food, gain 3 life, make a squirrel, and you can also pay 2 to use the Forge ability, where the Forge ability is where you sacrifice a food or you exile 3 cards from your graveyard. And then you can put a +1/+1 counter on each other squirrel you control. So if the forge that you use is sacrificing a food, you'll make a 1/1 squirrel, and then you'll put a +1/+1 counter on it, so you make a 2/2 squirrel. So if you use that mechanic in there. So we're going to replace the Mentor with that. I do like the Mentor, but I think it has its limits, right? Like you need a bunch of token makers, and sure, the deck will make food tokens, and it could be probably pretty good, but it comes out as a 1/1. You can just die right away before you get a chance to pump it. For 3 mana, that kind of sucks. So that's probably why you haven't seen that card played, or if you've been watching or playing. The Huntsman Redemption we're replacing with the Scavenger's Talent. This is a tough one, so the talent is when 1 or more creatures you control die, you can make a food token. So that's a way that we can get a lot of food tokens created, and then for 2 mana we can level it up. And then whenever we sacrifice a permanent, so we sacrifice a food to the Forge effect, or just sacrifice it in general, target opponent will mill 2 cards. So we're not really on a mill deck plan, but you could mill the opponent. Yeah, big deal. And then at your end step, you may sacrifice 3 non-land permanents if you do return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter. So for 3 mana, you could level it up to 3 to get that ability. I don't know. I think it's more about level 1 for this card. It's a pretty tough decision to put it in. You could, obviously you don't have to put it in, but I think we'll see how it does. Assassin's Trophy is a, pretty good removal card, but we're going to swap it out for Lord's Kidder just to be able to make some rats. And we'll see with this guy, the Valley Rotcaller. 1 mana, 1 black, 1/3. Menace. When it attacks, opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats. So that's why we went with Skitter, is to help the Rotcaller out. The rock collar is also helped out by Camellia, making squirrels, and Camellia is a squirrel. And this is our kind of another life gain engine for us in a way. Maybe you can, finish off the opponent. You put this down, and you have a lot of, big board state, and just swing in and get them. The Lich King's Conquest, we're going to replace with Ostomancer Adept. 1 mana, 1 black, 2/2, Death Touch. I just feel like having a body in there is good. And then the ability is kind of similar to the Lich King's, is, until end of turn, you can cast creature spells from your graveyard by forging, and still pay their mana cost to cast them. And then if you cast a spell this way, that creature enters with a finality counter, which means, if it dies, it gets exiled instead, which is fine. We're just trying to get stuff back. So we could use our food tokens to get stuff back. Sure, this will, be cheaper, but I think the 2/2 body with Death Touch is the reason why I'm going with the Adept over the Conquest. Although the Conquest can sack all of your food and get all your creatures back, and sure, this is more of a slow burn. You tap it. I think you could do this on the opponent's turn. Until the end of turn, you may cast a creature spells from your graveyard by forging in addition to paying their mana cost. Doesn't say anything about restrictions of casting. So, maybe? We'll try that out. See if we can do that on opponent's turn. We got a couple staying cards and not really adjusting cards. The Confectioner is going to stay. When it enters, it makes a food. When you sack a food, you make a 1/1 rat. So we're getting more and more rats for the Rot Collar. And then the Sweet Tooth Witch, when it enters, it makes a food. And then you could pay 2 to sacrifice a food, and target player loses 2 life. So we could sack a food, do 2 damage to the opponent, make a rat, and if we were level 2 on this, make a rat, mill them, and give +1/+1 counter, right? So it's just all kind of synergizing together. Greta has also ability to sack food. She enters with a food. You could pay 1 green to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or you could pay 1 and 1 black to sack a food to draw a card and lose a life. Probably you'll have plenty of life, so that life total isn't a thing. It's about having as much food as possible. And then we're going with the Heaped Harvest. I really like this card. I think it's a really shining in just regular decks in general, because you can search, when you put it into play, you search for land, then you can pay 2, sack it, and gain 3, and then you get another land. But you don't have to pay 3 and sack it. You can sack it some other way. Since it's a food token, that's counted as a food. So then it generates all the food things. We're going to replace the Return to Wild. Although it's great, it makes a food and searches a land, but, this is a food and searches a land, and it'll get you 2 lands, where this one only gets you 1 land and a food, basically. Sure, you can get a 1/1, but just get a little bit more value from that, and I just think it's better. Going with the Knight of Sweet's Revenge, with all this food, you have to play this. I remember when Eldraine came out, this card was played a lot because everyone's doing food cards, and you pay 7 mana, sacrifice the Sweet's Revenge. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and where X is the number of food you control, activate as a sorcery. But the thing that it does is it makes all your food produce green mana, right? So for 4 mana, and now you turn all your food into lands, basically, and that'll get us to the top end, and we're probably going to run out of cards. Scream Puff, What a dream it would be to get this out, but 5 mana, too expensive. We're going with the Tough Cookie instead. It makes a food. It is a food. It can turn our foods into 4/4 artifact creatures, which is pretty powerful. We'll use that 5 mana for something else. And then we're replacing the Merchant, although good. 4 mana is too expensive, for me at least. And I'm going to replace it with the Bone Cache Overseer. 1 mana, 1 black. Pay 1 life and draw a card. Activate only if 3 or more cards left your graveyard, or if you sacrifice the food. So whenever you do a Forge mechanic, you can tap this guy and draw a card and lose 1 life. But you could also sacrifice a food, for 2 mana, and then you can, gain 3 life from a food. And then so you're going to gain 2 life from the food and draw a card and tap that guy. So pretty good. And then we're going to get rid of this Reach for the Sky. It doesn't make any sense why it's in there. 4 mana for +3/+2. Sure, whatevs. Man, maybe they were trying to pump up the Tramplers or something. But we're going to go with this Trampler instead. Instead of trying to pump up a Trampler, we're going to put in a pumped Trampler. So for 2 mana, 1 green, 1/1, Trample, Squirrel, Warrior, the Honored Dray Leader. When it enters, you put a +1/+1 counter for each other squirrel or food. So for each food you have and each squirrel, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then whenever a squirrel or food enters, it gets bigger. So it's going to continue to grow. That's our big bad boy. Probably it'd be nice to have 4 of them in there. I was thinking about putting 4 of them in there, but I'm going to go with a little bit more. You know, maybe when we play it, and maybe at the end of the video, maybe we'll make some adjustments to the deck. But for right now, we're going to go with 2, and then we're going to go with Welcome Sweet Tooth. 1 mana, 1 green. You create a human, create a food. On Saga 3, you put X +1/+1 counters on a creature where it's a number of foods. And although I love Sugar Rush, and I really want it to work as a great card, you know, +3/+0 and draw a card, then you gotta go, bro. You're not a food, you don't make food, you don't do anything around food. And then for the Feed the Cauldron, while it's pretty good, it only destroys a creature with mana 3 or less, and it makes a food. But we're going to go with Feed the Cycle. So it's going to use a food, possibly, you know, to make it cheaper for 2 mana, or for 3 mana, you know, 1 and 2 black. You could destroy a creature and or Planeswalker, which just gives more value instead of like a mana value 3 or less creature, right? Spider Food destroys artifact creature or creature with flying and create food for 3 mana, right? 2 and 1. 2 and 1. We can destroy a creature with flying enchantment. So this does target an artifact. So we lose the ability to target an artifact, but we do gain the ability to draw a card and create a food token, right? So I guess this will destroy a creature and create a food token. This does only one of those things, but it's fine. It's 2 mana. It's 1 mana cheaper, and it gives us you know, the option modal spell. Then we're getting rid of this Hollow Scholar Scavenger. You know, creates a food, and it does stuff with food, but for 3 mana, for 3/2 bodies, pretty weak. We're going to go with the Witch's Vanity, so we get that removal for destroy creature with valid mana ability 2 or less for the first saga. It makes a food, and then we get a Wicked Roll where we get a +1/+1 counter on a creature that we control. So we just need a creature out to get the full benefit of the Witch's Vanity, but the idea is we kill one of their little creatures in the early game, you know, help us stabilize a little bit, and then we make a food. Titanic Growth, +4/+4, but doesn't give trample. Not that great. We're going to go with another removal spell for the early game just to help us survive a little bit. And, you know, with the meta the way it is, you know, there's some pretty fast decks out there like Mono Red, and this will kill your Slickshot Show Off. You know, 2 mana, -2/2, and it makes a food. And then the Minostrosity. Oh, it's a mint. I see. 3/1 creates a food. Pretty good card. There's a 2 mana 3/2 that makes a food and makes another food when it dies. So sorry, bro. You got placed by a better card. Sure, it's green and black, but I think mana should be fine. Yeah, so those are the changes. All right, and that's the deck. The curve is pretty high. All these decks are like, Magic does not value the 1-drops, but apparently I don't either. But you know, we have a lot of food synergies, so we just need our 2 mana, hopefully 2 colors. Doing the Hidden Grottos is optional. Let's get into the games, see how we do. We got our mana. Got some early removal. All right, looks good. We'll lead off with the Scavenger's Talent, just because we can cast it. And then probably Sweet Tooth, unless they put out a creature that we can remove. We really want to get a creature out before, you know, this gets to level 3. And hopefully we get something out that sticks. And getting the... Oh, well, we do got to do this next turn. Maybe we should have... I don't know. Can't really wait. Ooh. We will get the buff, assuming they don't kill our little guy. So they're on like a reanimator thing. Season of Lost. Pretty big. Alright, that's great news for us. Create a food first? No. Oh yeah. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I think we go swing in. At the beginning and step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If we want to save this for something big, we could ramp, or we could just keep our life total high. I think we'll go for protection. Keep our life total at 20. Force them to have to do something. Right, maybe they utilize their mana in some other way. Exactly. And we have pressure on the board. We'll get a wicked roll. Whew. Not too bad for a free deck. Not too bad. We got that pressure on. They didn't draw. They probably only got stuck at 2 lands, but whatever's. We were going to hit them for 7. Put them down to 8. And probably develop some mana. Or we could sack a food. Sack 2 foods to make 2 rats at the end step on their turn. And present 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Next turn. Well, I mean 9. Or manland. Yeah, there's your 2 green. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny, 2 green. Yeah, it's funny. Funny guy. Funny guy, Magic. See, this is the same type of problem. What do you want to lead off? Ideally, you lead off with like a creature, and then you go with these 2. Assuming the creature doesn't get removed. Because you want to put this out, creates a food, and then you want to put this out. You want to follow them up. One, 2, or 1, 1, 2. Could be Boros Convoke. I'm gonna... Tough Cookie's pretty good, right? So if they want to spend their time developing the board, if you know they're trying to go wide, they might not have removal spells. They might have that case that removes stuff. We could get a better creature with the vanity. Ooh, interesting. They find that as a threat. So maybe they're not playing Boros Convoke? I'm gonna go more creatures. If they don't like my creature, I'm gonna go more creatures. Make them have more removal spells. And if they don't, that's a strange main play. They could have just flashed that in later. I think we make... Do we develop the board? I think we develop the board. I don't think we need to kill their guy yet. I think we'll go with this. Go with that. No attacks. Stay on defense. Make them have to do something. That's something. Guess I should have attacked in. They wouldn't have blocked anyway, I guess, but maybe it would have been fine. Now we're screwed on the other side? Are you kidding, man? Yeah, we'll get rid of this artifact, because red could have... I mean, they don't have the spell, but... Are these map tokens? Draw some mana? Oh, Magic, you're awesome. The Grotto's good. I'll just swing in with my 1 guy. No. I need to cast this guy, and I only have 1 black mana. Go from getting screwed on green to screwed on black. Oh, and the map tokens, as always, draw you lands when you don't need them, right? We're playing a deck that the curve is 2 and 3 cards, and yeah. Create a food. I think we're gonna pump up this guy. Although the other guy probably would have been good to pump. I just screwed up. Really just screwed up. I can't believe I did that. Monologuing. Hey. Yeah, probably pumping the rot color would have been the better move, but I just feel like pumping the token. So we'll get to kill one of their creatures, I think. Unless they, yeah. And that's why we killed that before. Right? Because of that card, they can draw that card. Okay. That sucks. We need a removal spell off the top. We got a rat. That's a good thing. Yeah, we should have put that on the rot collar, man. Really messed that up. Boros doing what Boros does. Six, 7, 5, 6, 7. Still not enough. But they're not going to sacrifice their Anapakal. We have an instant speed takedown. Let's put this land out so don't screw that up. It's not bad too. It's only 1 damage right now, but we can get a lot of rats, I think. 5, 6, 7. Five, 6, 7. Oh, I think we sacrificed the food this turn. 5, 6. So we can kill Anapakal next turn. Anapakal next turn. We're not too bad. I mean, I think if I would have pumped up the rot collar, maybe we would have been fine. I mean, we're a little light on the blocks. Nothing we can do to that. It's strange that they didn't want to try to get Pakal up. I mean, they should attack with 3 guys, right? But they can't. Too aggressive. Or they incorrectly tapped for the Warden. Yeah, no, I'm making some rats, bro. Does this trigger once per turn? The other thing to note is we have that other guy too to fling food at their face. So I'm not going to do it all, right? So we have 4 damage out of nowhere. 5, 6. We can draw a card. Okay. We're going to save the Savior, although we could get Pakal right now. I think we could do a big blowout. Oh yeah, they're just jumping. Okay. The Warden is a problem. Is it a problem? Which is bigger a problem? I think I'm going to do the Warden. I think the Warden is a bigger problem. They're at 14. We need to figure out a way to get 14 damage through. We have 4 more rats. So 4 plus 4 is 8. They have another case. But the real problem is the rot collar. If only we can make it unblockable. Maybe we need to add that land in to make it unblockable. Pretty epic game against Boros. I mean, they're pretty passive. I mean, I guess they're waiting for their card. mean, we have to kill this, right? I don't know what else to do. Make a rat? Draw a card? Do we kill him on the swing back? Ah, whatever. Found the limits. Oh, that would have helped. Overprotect. I think escape tunnel. Get that out of the way. Ooh, now we could save that. Cool. Yeah, feed the cycle we have for Sheldred if we needed it. Last turn. We'll go with the not let them see that we're playing green. Which one's better? I mean, they're just gonna counter it. So this one's less important. Don't have enough mana. Simulacrum Deck? Ooh, it's gonna be tough. I don't know if we can do that. Overprotect is not the card. I need the Destroy Artifact card. Didn't find it. I think we'll go with so we're really gonna need some food to finish her. So we are gonna need the Witch is a priority. I don't know if we can do enough damage quick enough. What does this do? Enters, scry 2. When another artifact you control enters, it becomes a 4/4 until the end of the turn. Tough Cookie's good. We have to clear the way first. I think we cleared away. Pay this. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 damage. So we need to get him down to 8. We have an Overprotect. I think we got this one. If they only put out one creature, oh, that's a rough one. That's devastating. I guess the Tough Cookie, actually it's not too bad. Not too bad, actually. 2, 4, 6 damage we got with the foods. Another Overprotect. We do this. We just swing in. Let's give Hexproof. Maybe we could have not sent in the Confectioner, but I think we're in a really good position here. I added in these Overprotects and Escape Tunnels after those first 3 games. Losing to Boros. They're tapped out, so they don't have the mana either. Right? We get to get that 2 trample damage over. They're at 3, so they're dead on my turn. We also have an Escape Tunnel to get 2 damage in. So just good enough, strong enough. They know it, I know it, right? Should did this guy. No, no blocks is good enough. Target player, this thing. Sure. Target player, this thing. Nice for a free deck. Pretty good. And we're back. So I did make a few little tweaks from the intro. Added in these 2 overprotects. I think I removed the savior card for that. Just an ability to protect your creatures, ability to get trampled to go through, ability for the Valley Rotcaller to attack in and stay alive is kind of the concept around that. And then I got rid of those surveil lands for some escape tunnels to go along with that same kind of concept of being able to sneak some damage in, right? And you could also use that on, your 2-drops and stuff. The Confectioner can utilize that. Tough Cookie could utilize it to sneak in type of situation. But it's also one of the problems I found in the first few games was I would get mana screwed on one color, so I would need more green mana or more black mana in one game. And so this, in the early game, you could put this out on your first turn, and then you can get the second color of what you need. Usually we're looking for 2 extra green mana, but you could also use extra black mana for the talent, to be able to do that. And the other one is you need that mana to cast spells, right? So if you use the Adept, you still have to pay the mana cost. So while you can tap it and cast multiple spells at one time, assuming you have enough mana to do it and enough cards to either exile from your graveyard or enough food to sacrifice, you still need to be able to cast that. So you do need that mana type of thing. The Paw Patch formation, doing alright. Red is good. We didn't get to see some of our top end stuff. Even though, the Boros game went really long, we didn't get into any good stuff type of thing. But Skitter's a really nice addition, just having those bodies on the board. And the Confectioner makes more rats. It almost makes me think that we should put that 1 rat in there. Tarat. It's a mana value of 2. The Persistent Marsh Stalker. So you might think about adding that if you have any of these, just because we do have a lot of rats, and being able to get that back from the graveyard might be a nice little win con. I don't know where we would squeeze it in. We could take out 1 Sweet Tooth Witch and put 1 Marsh Stalker in there. I just think we have a lot of rats between the Experimental Confectioner and Lord Skitter. We seem to be getting a lot of rats, and being able to attack with 1 little rat and bring back a big rat and possibly give it some trample, indestructibility and trample with the overprotect might be pretty nice. And you could probably sneak that rat in to keep it alive to do it on another turn. So I'm just going to sneak 1 in. Sneak out 1 witch, sneak in that guy. But yeah, this has been told. Like and subscribe. Remember that the deck is in the description so that you can copy it at Moxfield and be able to play with it on an arena. So yeah, this has been told. Like and subscribe. See you next time.